Kevin?
This council meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of December 18, 2023 was published in the Courier News and Star Ledger and placed on the borough's website. Notice of this meeting was also placed on the bulletin board at Borough Hall with a complete agenda. In addition, a copy of this notice is available to the public, and a copy of the statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Dennis Sullivan is excused this evening. Council members: Granville Brady.
Here.
Tom Mitchell.
Here.
Gina Stravic.
Here.
Roger Vroom. Teresa Bonner.
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here. Everyone, please join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you. I hope everyone had safe travels today. I see some people made it. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. I need a motion for approval of the minutes, December 4th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Council members: Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Departmental reports and notices, they're listed on the agenda. Kindly note that the reorganization meeting will be held at the high school, not here, January 1st of next year, at 12 p.m. Committee reports. Oh, I'd first like to turn it over to Kevin Saluka, our clerk administrator, just to give us an update of a flood update on our borough.
Thank you. So throughout the day, since early this morning at about 4 a.m., we kind of started the day. For a while, things were moving fantastically. We did receive the low-lying areas flooded, which included Southside Avenue, and obviously the park. At one point, we had a closure on Veterans Memorial between Maine and Hamilton, which eventually reopened and then had to close again after several hours. So that was the main closure. We monitored that for pretty much all day long, and for the most part, things ran very smoothly. And then slowly, with the tide rising later in the afternoon, we did have a lot of pushing of the storm, which resulted in closures in South Bridge Street coming off of 206, closures on East Main, and it became a little more difficult to navigate throughout the borough between, I guess, 330 and Emi now. And resulting in, obviously, the adjoining municipalities also had difficulty, which resulted in a lot of vehicles being in Somerville, so we had a little traffic out there. As far as property, we did have, the library this morning had a roof leak on a smaller level, and also West End Hose, we just completed a roof there, and around the skylight, they had some water enter into their building. DPW, which is located on 5th Street, later in the afternoon became underwater in the sense that that whole area where the cabinet shop is and the fire tower started taking on a lot of water. We had previously relocated all the vehicles from DPW on Friday, so it wasn't any vehicle or apparatus type of issue, but the employees were using that facility. They were then relocated to the old council chambers on Bridge Street in cooperation with the police. So, and currently, obviously, we're still assessing as far as private property damage. We've heard some from property damages relating specifically to water in the basement, sump pump not moving as quick as in order to push the water out. But that's the majority of it. The brook is obviously extremely swelled up. I did see some photographs from Brookside. where some of the vehicles, we did notify all the property owners in the multi-level low-lying areas. However, obviously, whether that message gets to people or they don't, heed that message, there were some vehicles in the floodwaters there and on the bottom of Fifth Street as well. But for the most part, most of the apartments did heed. Jason Kraska's over the last 3 days has been pushing out a lot of material to them. So they were fortunate that way. That's the extent of which I'm aware of at this point. We'll continue to assess. The county OEM's done a great job communicating back and forth. We're utilizing an app through the county that they had put together. So Lisa Werner, it's kind of nice to have a hometown person there. So we've been able to communicate back and forth throughout the day. Things worked fairly smoothly. I think the police department's a little taxed right now because of road closures and so forth. But for the most part, things worked well.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Committee reports. I could start to my left.
No further
Councilman Mitchell.
report.
The Environmental Commission has met their annual requirement for the New Jersey Community Forestry Program in obtaining their CEUs. They amassed 9 or 10 credits where 8 are required by 3 or more people. So thank you for their time and energy, and I think you saw in the last presentation, they give generously of their time. I think it was calculated about $30,000 this past year between rain gardens, community gardens, tree planting, advice, counsel, and so on. So thank you to them. On a personnel level, we're in the process of hiring at Borough Hall, so I think I've announced that before. And we have some new hires coming aboard, so we welcome our new staff to the borough.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bonner.
I actually don't have any reports for the end of the year. The couple of meetings did not happen in December, so I don't have anything further to add.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brew.
Sure. I'd like to thank the first responders for their hard work today. We had a couple of calls early in the morning for basement flooding that our fire department went out for. And then right before dinner time this evening, we had a car that thought it was a boat. And so they went out to rescue some folks that were stranded in the water, which, the borough's done a great job of putting it out. The first responders in town have done a great job of putting out. Somerset County OEM has done a great job of putting it out. If you see water, you don't know how deep it is, please stop trying to drive through it. Your life and your property is not worth a guess. So just be aware of that. But again, I'd like to thank the rescue squad answered that one, and they were able to take care of it before FD even rolled, which is great. That's what we have, community partners. Thank you to OEM for keeping us in the loop today and, keeping things going, and appreciate everyone's hard work. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Brady.
Thank you. As you know, this is my last meeting forever. I'm retiring, but not from work. I'm only retiring from public service. Former House Speaker Tip O'Neill once said that all politics is local, and that was never so true as it is here in Somerville. We are truly blessed with an active electorate that has given me the opportunity to serve by electing me 3 times in the past 7 years. That's enough. 3 strikes and I'm out. I am truly humbled and honored to have been a part of Somerville's progress, and I certainly wish you all a happy holiday, and I will see you again on January 1st at our last meeting.
Thank you. Open meeting to the public. I need a motion and a second.
So move.
Second.
Sorry. Oh, I'm going off the list here. Councilman Vroom,
Yes.
Councilman Brady,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bonner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Stravic,
Yes?
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
and Council President Pitts.
Yes. The meeting is open to the public. Please come up to the mic, state your name, address.
Hey, good evening. My name is Frank Vuoso, 1 Prospect Drive here in Somerville, of course. I'm speaking tonight regarding the proposed playground on Fairview Avenue associated with the development of the Park View project on Fairview Avenue. Back on April 26, 2017, the planning board approved the development and had a meeting with residents, a public meeting with residents, and they showed a plan including a playground, right? May 24th, the planning board finalized their approval by memorializing a resolution, as they usually do. This resolution has specific finding of fact. I'm going to read it here. The site finding of fact number 6 says the site contained toxic waste from its prior use and has undergone remediation in accordance with NJDP requirements. Final clearance of same for the proposed use is still pending. Okay, that's 2017. That resolution contained a total of 39 conditions. 16 are generic or boilerplate conditions, leaving 23 specific conditions for this project. 16 of those 23 were conditioned upon either the planning board engineer or planner review and final approval. There are 2 conditions that are of particular interest to me tonight. The first is condition 5 of that resolution. It states that this approval is subject to the applicant complying with all the conditions set forth in the attached reports of the planning board planner and planning board engineer, except as modified by the board in this resolution. The planning board planner and engineer report from 2017 as part of the planning board hearing referenced in this condition stated the following, and this is quoted: prior to dedication of the pocket playground, a preliminary assessment site investigation should be performed in accordance with NJAC 7:26E. The purpose of this PASI, or preliminary assessment site investigation, is to ascertain whether the site has soil and/or groundwater contamination. The other condition is condition 8 of the same resolution. And this is the quote from the resolution. This approval is contingent and subject to the applicant obtaining final clearance from the New Jersey DEP for the environmental cleanup, and same must be approved for the proposed residential and park land use by the new NJDEP. Same must be obtained prior to the issuance of any building permits, not CO, building permits. All right, it wasn't handled that way. Meanwhile, the project is built, unfortunately suffers a massive fire, is rebuilt, and is occupied on a temporary certificate of occupancy. And a condition to get a full certificate of occupancy is completing the playground. During the building construction, the playground site was utilized to stockpile soil from the larger lot, which no one is contesting was contaminated. We have proof of that. Now, thoughts of completing the playground start, and the playground plans are submitted and reviewed by the planning board engineer numerous times. Response dates from the planning board engineer or planner are January 19th, 2023, April 20th, 2023, June 22nd, 2023, and again on July 10th, 2023. All in response to the applicant submitting something to the borough. All of these reports contain this or similar language regarding the soil testing. Quote, prior to construction, a preliminary assessment / site investigation, or PASI, needs to be submitted, which indicates that soil and/or groundwater contamination does not exist on the subject site. While these reviews are being done, the planning board adopts an amended resolution in February 6, 2023, which allows for a deviation from the original approval to issue a CO, or certificate of occupancy, to accommodate the developer's permanent financing. The planning board requires bonding for the park and soil testing to be posted until the construction of the park at a later date. There's an email from Borough Administrator Kevin Sluka to the developer Jonathan Klein on June 23rd, 2023, stating, quote, the issue the borough will have is that since the property will be deeded over to the borough, our insurer, prior to listing it on our coverage, will require from us documentation indicating environmental status, as they have requested for other properties. We have added to our, requested for other properties we have added to our coverage schedule. Since it is expected to be a public playground, I am certain we would be required to test. Hence, I believe Mike, referencing Mike Cole, is seeking to attempt to obtain that testing now. So in the off chance that something is wrong, it can be addressed prior to attempting to have it deeded over to the borough in the near future. I don't expect to be able to accept the property or insure it if it is not tested. I could bring our attorney and insurer into the conversation if needed, but I would expect that they would be consistent with prior land acquisitions. Or if you would like, I can pass along the correspondence that you have provided to determine if that would be acceptable. But I would not rather open up the conversation than necessary. However, offer that as an opportunity to resolve, end quote. All of this demonstrates that the developer has known since 2017 and is reminded numerous times by borough officials that soil testing is required for the playground lot. Later, on July 5th, 2023, this Borough Council approves Resolution 23-07-05220. This resolution authorizes a $50,000 contract with Geosyntec and states they shall serve as special legal counsel for environmental engineering services in accordance with the proposed December 5th, 2022 proposal. Yes, I said special legal counsel. Geosyntec was hired for legal counsel. Then on October 2nd, 2023, the Borough Council proposes another resolution, 23-10-03-308. However, this was pulled before being voted on. It proposed authorizing a professional service contract with CHA for engineering review and inspection for the playground. This is now the second engineering firm to be considered here. It proposed authorizing the professional services contract with CHA for engineering review and inspection for the playground. Interesting observation is that CHA's proposal, which was pulled from the resolution, has the exact same date as Geosyntec's proposal of December 5th, 2022, okay? So Geosyntec and CHA have the same proposal with the same dates, apparently. So let me go back. Interesting observation is that CHA's proposal from the pulled resolution has the exact same date as Geosyntec's proposal from the previous resolution, which is December 5th, 2023. But rather than Geosyntec being the special legal counsel, this time it is for CHA to be the conflict engineers. Both CHA and Geosyntec submitted proposals on the same day. It's odd. December 5th, 2022. Then on October 16th, 2023, on the Borough Council agenda are resolutions 316 and 317, again to propose a replacement of the planning board engineer and planner for a review and inspection of the playground with CHA and requiring the owner to pay for soil testing. 317 requires the developer to pay for soil testing. Both were approved by this governing body. During those deliberations, Councilwoman Stravic asks, is it the developer's responsibility or our responsibility to provide a clean soil test? Mayor Sullivan's next comment is, we have to be assured when we take title of the property that it's clean. We can accept the developer's report or we can have our own as well. We don't just accept the report from one side. This would engage CHA consultant to get the soil tested, get the deed to the property, and have the playground built. CHA never tested it. You hired Geosyntec. Geosyntec isn't testing it now. Now tonight, December 18th, 2023, there's Resolution 355 that is proposing to accept a recommendation by Geosyntec in lieu of soil testing. Almost done. This recommendation is to remove 18 inches of soil and cart it off-site, install a vapor barrier, and then install the playground surface material. According to Geosyntec, this, quote, would avoid further environmental testing at the park property. The word avoid is used here. So let me read that again. Would avoid further environmental testing at the park property, end quote. And, quote, while there is no indication that any contamination exists on park property, will mitigate any concerns over environmental exposure at the park property, end quote. There has been no debate that the larger lot where the apartments were built was contaminated, and soil from that site was temporarily stockpiled on the playground site during construction. However, it was never determined if the playground lot was ever or is now contaminated by the actions of the developer in stockpiling soil on this lot. I assume sampling and testing would be costly, less costly than what is proposed, assuming the dirt is not contaminated. It is customary that when someone receives soil from another site and they get a certification, that the soil is not contaminated, so they are not stuck with contaminated dirt. Something does not add up here, and the optics thus far do not look good from where I'm standing. This seems very similar to the DSA's absurd proposal based on incorrect information and allegations by Councilman Brady to provide options for a developer to pick which borough or board professional they would like to review their proposal. The mayor and council seem to not want to uphold the planning board resolution and the obligations of this developer, and the solution is to appoint other professionals that will offer a workaround versus holding a developer accountable at the taxpayer's expense and potential exposure if the playground site is later determined to be contaminated. The mayor and council need to table tonight's resolution, 23-12-18-355, correct the record, and require the developer to test the soil and reimburse the borough and its taxpayers for money spent incorrectly. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Hello, Jeff Kaiser, 23 Vanderveer Avenue, Somerville. That was fantastic. I'm going to talk about the same issue. For first, though, feedback. First, I walked here because obviously driving would have been ridiculous. And I walked. I'm on the east side, so I walked by the proposed section of apartment buildings that's supposed to possibly go on Main Street and Veterans Memorial. Veterans Memorial is closed, so consider that when you're deciding to put another, several hundred apartments there. The second thing, so obviously I want to talk about the same resolution, Geosyntec resolution. I had the pleasure of reviewing the original Geosyntec report as part of the Environmental Commission. We reviewed it. We looked it over. We found some issues with it. We provided our insights and our advice to council, which was heard. I appreciate that. And the main point we had was that there was a soil pile, and to make that aware to the council. And we tried to make every effort to provide the information to council that there was a soil pile. I was then asked, I was contacted by Kevin to review the recent Geosyntec letter that was proposed, that it's follows through with this in this proposal, removing the 18 inches. And it was clear to me that in that letter that you've referenced as well, Geosyntec wasn't aware that there was a pile. And I had today I had a meeting with Michael Lambert on request of Councilwoman Stravik with Kevin about the whole plan, about the Parkview playground. And I asked Michael Lambert, was he aware of the pile? And he wasn't. And so I just want to make sure everyone knows what the pile looks like. So that's the pile. The problem with Geosyntec's proposal was the fact that their review of the developer's environmental review, a review of the review, was that Geosyntec was reviewing satellite images, and those satellite images weren't able to detect a soil pile covered in vegetation. Therefore, they didn't consider it. And my final question, so we went, we discussed this topic at length, and another question that came up was whether or not if you knew about this pile, would your proposal be a bit different? And the idea would be, yeah, we want to know more about the pile. The removal of 18 inches, as far as I've understood, is the gold standard for redeeming the environment, the spot for safe use. But with the knowledge that this pile existed, we can't be absolutely sure that contamination doesn't exist or has actually spread to other areas and into the groundwater. So I would, and I think I have some other points there as well, but I would recommend that we strike this, have Geosyntec come back, if you guys want them, come back with a new letter indicating with knowledge of the pile, people that are well-known in this area, and in this community, know the pile existed. I have an image of it. It was in 2019. Now the pile's gone. We have been made aware that that pile did exist from material from contaminated area, and that we, reconsider this and see what the proposal should be. Also, I would urge you guys to, consider the liability. If further down the line you find out that there is contamination at the site, and you have taken over the property, and something were to occur, it's in our lap now. If you decide to pass this, I would only ask you to please strike the line, the last whereas, where it says, whereas Geosyntek Consultants further recommends that these proposed construction requirements would avoid further environmental testing at the park property, and I'd like you to please, strike this section, while there is no indication that any contamination exists on the park property. That's just simply not true. So, I appreciate your time, and get home safe.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward.
Yeah. Are we gonna discuss this again a little later, or should I say my piece now?
You can say your piece now.
My name is Larry Cleveland. I live at 34 Grant Avenue in Somerville. I just happen to be on the Environmental Commission and the Planning Board, but I'm just speaking as myself. Again, talking about the park property, the suggestion that they will dig down and remove 18 inches of soil is flawed, because unless they actually test, they will never know if the 18 inches of soil removal will be enough. We still do not know what's in the ground. Is it uranium? Maybe. We don't know. Nobody knows because nobody wants to test it. Maybe it should be 2 feet of soil or 3 feet of soil. Have they done testing on the sides to make sure that the 2 houses on the side have not been infiltrated with pollution? This property, before the buildings were built, when they were doing all the work on remediation, they discovered pollution, plumes that went under the railroad tracks from Bridgewater to Somerville and back. They had all kind of soil testing, all kind of underground sample pots and everything. We don't know, is there an issue, and is it in the property to the left or the right of the parkland? We don't know because it hasn't been tested. Why would the borough take the responsibility for a property that is potentially polluted or compromised, or whatever word you want to use? 18 inches might be the gold standard. We don't know what's under the ground, and maybe it's moved. It was there for years and years, 120 years from my understanding, about this property and all the things that gone on over there. The back we know about. They took care of that. These are children we're talking about. This is children. We should not be doing this. And the financial and just the simple responsibility of having this property that we think it might be contaminated, why would we take it? We're gonna be stuck with it forever. It's insane to deliberately go and take that property. Doesn't make any sense. We would, in my opinion, be better off without a park on that property. We don't need it. Too many headaches, too much hassle. We should, never mind. Forget the park. You're free to go. And then just let them deal with that acre or whatever it is of land, and let them see what it looks like, and let them see if they can remediate it themselves. We shouldn't be remediating anything. We should be getting samples so that we know what we're dealing with before we make a decision to take over this property. It's irresponsible. We won't be able to cap it properly if we don't know what's there if it's not tested. We should be testing so we know what's there, and then we have to take the appropriate action if we were even thinking about doing that. But I don't think any of us are gonna have our children or our grandchildren playing on that property. You're not gonna take your kid over there and go play on that property, because you know in the back of your head, tick, 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 there might be something wrong with that property. We shouldn't be taking it. Like I had mentioned, the polluted waters or the groundwaters, they shift over time. They were coming from Bridgewater under the railroad tracks to us, and then we were sending some back to them. Those were the studies that were done 15, almost 20 years ago, even messing with this property. We don't know what's under the ground because we haven't actually tested. The meeting that Frank and Jeff mentioned, where we were all here, and there was an understanding, maybe I misunderstand English, but it sure sounded like we're gonna get it tested. They are doing everything under the sun to not test. You have to ask yourself, why? How hard is it to go, check it? $5,000 is nothing. We already did $5,000 one time before. That was not supposed to be done by our pockets. It was the developer should have done it. How did that happen? Nonetheless, we don't know what's in the ground. Two meetings ago, we talked about this, and the agreement was we were gonna get the soil tested. Now, all of a sudden, everyone wants to cap it because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to look at it. That is crazy. It's clear there is something wrong if everybody is throwing up all this interference not to test. The developer's supposed to test it. The developer's supposed to make it clean or let us know what's on there. They have not done that yet. We bent over backwards for this developer. We gave him his CO and removed the park requirement, so he can get a better rate on his loans and stuff like that. You guys did that, and they came back to the planning board to ask, is this okay? And the planning board said, yes, we can separate them. Still gotta get tested. Still gotta get tested, still has to get tested. How is this helping development in town by giving this developer one more thing off the hook? He was supposed to build the park. He didn't. He pushed it off. So it's not that we're holding up development in town by making sure that this area is clean. We're not holding up development. It's not holding up development. We would be better off dropping the park completely, the way this is going at this point. I cannot understand why we would put people's lives at risk over a park that we could just find out what the deal is for real and then move forward with the proper information. 2 months ago, this was a done deal. Oh, okay, good, we're gonna test it, great. All of a sudden, 3 weeks later or 5 weeks later, now we're playing the last stand. We're doing this at the last minute. Where did that go? Where did that information go? How come they didn't, you said we were gonna test. When did it change the test? How could you trust Geosyntech to test if they didn't even know about what was going on? That was made evident by what Jeff talked about today with their people. So they're just making a suggestion out of the clear blue sky, oh, we'll just cap it. No, they didn't even know what they were talking about because they weren't told what they needed to know. A test is a test. Go out there, look at it, find out, make sure it's not spreading, make sure in 20 years the people on the left are not having groundwater problems in their basement. And none of us, there's probably 2 people here who are real environmental engineers. The rest of us just work. We do different things. We're not engineers. We're not chemical engineers, and we're certainly not environmental engineers. We just got a bunch of people who care about our town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
John Hadley, 8 Laurie Drive. Yeah, I'm very concerned that the council agreed at a recent meeting that there would be testing done. That would be part of the requirement, and now it appears without any further, public discussion I'm aware of, that the council's decided to go back on its word and rely on a proposal here that, from Geosyntec, that was based on flawed assumptions and flawed information. They were not provided the information to know what they needed to be able to evaluate this. They did not know about the contamination that had been put on that site for some time. So there's a recommendation that says, yeah, we should remove the top 18 inches of soil, which suggests this is to avoid contamination, to remediate something that they don't know exists, because it also says there's no indication of any contamination. So this is a contradictory proposal in the first place, and I urge the board, the council, to reconsider this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, any motion to go out of public?
Move to adjourn from executive, from public session and go into regular session?
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell, Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Being new up here in this seat,
Not that new.
well, in this seat, before we go into our consent resolutions, I would just like to have a word, let me know if I'm not allowed to do this, with our attorney and with our administrator.
In private or?
Yeah, in private.
You're certainly free to adjourn the meeting.
You'd have to go into executive.
Okay. Then I'd like to, need a motion to go into executive?
So move.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. We shall return. Thank you for all your comments.
Well, I do want to tell people it's streaming live, so it'll continue to stream live, so.
But it won't stream live the executive session, it'll just stream live what goes on in here.
last thing to go on. There we go. Need a motion to go back into public?
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom. Yes. Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Consent resolutions, where are we?
Number 8.
Thank you. Gina, which one was that?
Number 8.
355.
Motion, yeah.
Yeah.
Want me to make a motion to pull? Well, I'm just saying, pull 355?
Yeah, we're pulling 355.
Second.
Council
We-
members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom. Yes. Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. Okay, does anyone on council want to pull any other resolutions? Hearing none?
All yours, brother.
Okay. 351, amending cancellation of borough tax sales certificate not issued for pilot properties to include interest. 352, amending resolution 23-0619-199, correcting the entity for Solani Investors LLC, and readopting approving alcohol beverages license to be submitted to the Division of Alcoholic Beverages for the years 2023 through 2024. 335, amending resolution 23-1002-300, clarifying that property approved for a Class 5 retailer is known as Block 92, Lot 25.02, and readopting the resolution for local support for suitability of cannabis business to Route 22 Dispensary LLC for the issuance of a Class 5 retailer license at 1062 Route 22, Somerville. 354, extending the time period set forth in Resolution 23-0501-154, conditionally designated North Bridge Properties LLC as conditional redeveloper for the properties designated on the official tax map of the Borough of Somerville as Block 64, lots 8, 10, and 11.01, and Block 65, lots 1, 2, 2.01, 3, 4, commonly known and identified as 130 to 148 East Main Street, and 104, 118 to 199 Veteran Street, which are located within the East Central Business District redevelopment area. 356, approving scorekeepers at the rate of $17 an hour per game for the Recreation Department for January 5th, 2024 to March 2nd, 2024. Authorizing, 357, authorizing transfer of funds to fund certain line items in the 2023 budget. 358, approving change order number 2 and final payment to a contract with Diavolino Construction, Inc. for Michael Lepp Park pool improvements. 359, approving tax overpayment for 68 Grant Avenue, Block 39, Lot 12.01, refund due to Trident Land Transfer. 360, approving change orders number 2 and 3, amending the contract with Ballers for parking lot number 6 improvements for a new contract amount of $100,071, $152.34. Resolution 361, supporting additional bus stops and signage along Veterans Memorial Drive West. 362, approving hiring Thank you. Figliello, I didn't want to get that wrong, at an hourly rate of $30 for the Tax Finance Department starting January 2nd, 2024. 363, approving New Jersey's Firemen Association application for Raymond Amato. 364, approving New Jersey's Firemen Association application for Matthew Figueroa. And 365, approving the hiring of Mark Abraham, as full-time Assistant Engineer, Assistant Public Works Director. I need a motion.
So moved.
Just on 353, the name of the company is called Route 22, it's spelled R-O-O-T, so just note that.
Okay.
It's not the order. Council members, Randall Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yeah.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom, yes, Teresa Vaughn,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. And for the last time, Councilman Brady, bills and vouchers.
Oh, gee, I hope I have that here. Maybe we won't pay anything. Oh, I'm so sorry. We will pay something. For all those folks here and for the folks in the audience, I move the payment in the amount of $1,353,876.72. That's my motion. Second.
Council members, Randall Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Vaughn,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. And before I call for adjournment, from Mayor Dennis Sullivan to every member on council, we want to wish everyone a very merry holiday. Be safe going home. Thank you for all your support, all your wisdom in attending this meeting.
And thank you, Randy, for handling more meetings than you should have this year.
Lord knows I try. Tom, take us home.
Second.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.